The restaurant was calm, filled with soft music and quiet conversations, but something unseen was about to change everything forever that night. A powerful billionaire sat at a corner table with his elderly mother, his presence commanding respect, but his eyes carried a distance no one noticed. Before we dive in, let us know in the comments, what time is it and where are you watching from? Let's start. The old woman looked gentle and kind, but her silence was different, her eyes searching faces, trying to understand a world that spoke without her. A shy waitress approached their table, her step slow, her hands slightly trembling, as if she carried a weight no one could see. She wasn't just nervous about serving them. Something deeper held her back, something personal that made her observe the old woman closely. The billionaire spoke briefly, his tone sharp and controlled, ordering without even looking properly at the waitress standing in front of him. The waitress nodded softly, but her attention stayed on the mother, noticing the confusion in her eyes as she tried to follow the conversation. Other customers laughed and chatted, unaware of the silent struggle happening at that table, hidden in plain sight among ordinary moments. The waitress hesitated, then slowly raised her hands, her fingers moving carefully, forming signs directed toward the elderly woman. The old woman's eyes widened instantly, her face lighting up with sudden recognition, as if someone finally spoke her forgotten language. In that single moment, everything shifted, and the billionaire, watching closely now, realized something was happening that he never expected. The billionaire leaned slightly forward, his sharp eyes narrowing as he noticed his mother suddenly responding in a way he had never seen before. His mother's face softened, her hand slowly lifting as she replied in sign language, her movements emotional, almost desperate to express herself fully. The waitress stayed calm, her shyness fading, her hands moving with confidence now, as if this silent conversation meant more than anything else. For years, the mother had lived in silence, surrounded by people who spoke, yet never truly communicated with her in a way she understood. The billionaire felt a strange discomfort rising in his chest, realizing he had never even tried to learn her language, not even once. Customers nearby began to notice, their conversations slowing, eyes shifting toward the unusual yet deeply emotional exchange happening at the table. The waitress signed something longer this time, her expression serious, her eyes filled with concern as if she was trying to warn her. The mother's face changed suddenly, her gentle smile fading into worry, her hands trembling slightly as she responded back with urgency. The billionaire's jaw tightened, confusion turning into unease as he realized this was no simple greeting. Something important was being said. He interrupted, his voice firm, asking what was going on, but both women remained focused on each other, ignoring his words completely. For the first time in years, he felt invisible at his own table, as if he had been pushed out of a conversation he should have always been part of. And, deep inside, a painful truth began to surface, that maybe he had been absent from his mother's world far longer than he ever admitted. The billionaire's patience began to break, his voice rising slightly as he demanded to know what the waitress was saying to his mother right now. But the waitress didn't stop, her hands moving faster, her face tense, as if time was running out and something serious had to be told. The elderly mother looked shaken now, her eyes filling with fear, her hands responding quickly, asking questions only the waitress understood. A heavy silence spread across the restaurant, every nearby table now watching, sensing that something far deeper than a normal moment was unfolding. The billionaire stood up slightly, anger mixed with confusion, feeling disrespected as his own presence was being ignored in front of everyone. "Speak," he said firmly, but the waitress hesitated, her eyes briefly meeting his, filled with a quiet fear that told him this wasn't easy. She looked back at the mother and signed one final sentence, slower this time, making sure every word was understood clearly without mistake. The mother gasped softly, her hand covering her mouth, her body stiff as if the truth she just received was too heavy to hold. The billionaire froze, his anger fading instantly, replaced by a deep unease as he saw fear on his mother's face for the first time. He realized this wasn't about disrespect. This was something serious, something that had nothing to do with him, yet everything to do with him. The waitress finally lowered her hands, her breathing slightly heavy, as if she had just done something risky but necessary in that moment. And then, slowly, all eyes turned toward the billionaire, as if he was the only one left who didn't know the truth unfolding before him. The billionaire's voice lowered, no longer angry, but heavy, as he asked again what was said, his eyes now searching for truth instead of control. The waitress took a slow breath, her hands no longer moving, her silence now louder than before, as if choosing the right moment mattered deeply. The elderly mother reached out and held her son's arm tightly, her grip trembling, her eyes filled with fear he had never seen in his life before. For a moment, he forgot everything, his power, his status, his ego, and felt like a child again, confused and desperate to understand her pain. The waitress finally spoke softly, her voice shaking, explaining that the man standing behind them was not just another customer in that room. The billionaire turned slowly, his heartbeat rising, his eyes locking on to the masked figure who stood too still, watching them carefully all this time. A cold realization hit him as he noticed the man's posture, his hidden face, and the tension in his body that didn't belong in a normal place. The waitress revealed she had seen him earlier, watching the mother closely, noticing the way he reacted to her gestures and movements. She had recognized the danger instantly, not from his face, but from the signs he made subtly, signs only someone trained could understand. The mother's hands shook again as she confirmed what she had been told, her fear now visible, her silent world suddenly filled with threat. The billionaire felt guilt crash into him, realizing he had been blind, missing everything his mother had been silently experiencing for years. And in that moment, the truth became clear. This wasn't just a warning. This was a chance to protect the one person he had already failed. The billionaire stepped forward slowly, placing himself between his mother and the masked man, his body tense, instincts finally taking control. The restaurant fell into a deep silence as fear quietly spread among the people, their eyes shifting between danger and confusion. The masked man didn't move, but his stillness felt louder than any action, as if he was waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The waitress stood frozen for a second, then moved closer to the mother, her courage growing stronger than her fear in that critical moment. The billionaire spoke firmly, his voice calm but sharp, asking the man to leave, though inside his heart was racing faster than ever. The man tilted his head slightly, his eyes locked on the mother, ignoring the billionaire completely, as if she was always the real target. The mother clutched her son's sleeve tightly, her hands trembling, her silent pleas now filled with panic that she couldn't speak out loud. The waitress quickly signed to her, trying to calm her down, her movements gentle but urgent, keeping her focused and grounded. A sudden shift happened as the masked man took one slow step forward, breaking the distance, turning tension into immediate danger. People around began to move back, chairs scraping softly, fear taking over, but no one dared to intervene in what was unfolding. The billionaire clenched his fists, stepping forward as well, no longer a distant man, but a son ready to face whatever stood before him. And in that second, everything changed, as he realized protecting his mother now meant confronting a danger he never saw coming. The masked man suddenly reached into his coat, his movement sharp and deliberate, sending a wave of panic through the room in seconds. The billionaire reacted instantly, stepping forward without thinking, his only focus now on shielding his mother from whatever was coming next. The waitress pulled the mother slightly back, her hands steady despite fear, guiding her silently to stay calm and not draw attention. For a split second, time felt frozen, every heartbeat louder, every breath heavier, as danger stood just a few steps away from them. But instead of a weapon, the man pulled out a folded paper, his eyes fixed only on the elderly woman as he slowly raised it. Confusion replaced fear for a moment, but the tension didn't break, because his presence still carried something deeply unsettling and wrong. The waitress leaned forward slightly, her eyes narrowing, trying to understand the situation, sensing there was more hidden beneath this act. The man unfolded the paper and revealed symbols written across it, strange but familiar to someone who understood sign language deeply. The mother gasped silently again, her hands trembling as she recognized the message, her fear returning even stronger than before. The billionaire looked between them helplessly, anger building again, not at the man, but at himself for being completely unaware. The waitress quickly signed again, her movements urgent now, translating what the message meant before things could escalate further. And as the truth was revealed, the billionaire's world shook again, realizing this was not random. This danger was connected to his past. The waitress's hands moved quickly, her face serious as she revealed the message was a threat tied to something the billionaire had done years ago. The billionaire felt his chest tighten, memories he had buried deep suddenly rising, mistakes he thought were forgotten now standing before him. His mother looked at him with pain, not just fear, as if she finally understood that the silence in her life had hidden dangerous truths. The masked man stayed still, but his presence screamed purpose, as if he had waited a long time for this exact moment to arrive. The waitress explained through signs that the message warned of consequences, a reminder that some actions never disappear. They return stronger. The billionaire's hand slowly lowered, his strength fading into guilt, realizing his past decisions had now placed his mother in danger. People around them stood frozen, watching a story unfold that felt too real, too heavy, yet impossible to look away from completely. The mother reached out again, holding her son's hand, not with anger, but with a quiet sadness that cut deeper than any words. The waitress stayed beside her, continuing to translate, becoming the bridge that connected a broken family in their most critical moment. The masked man finally spoke, his voice low, confirming that this was only a warning, and next time there would be no second chance. The billionaire closed his eyes briefly, accepting the weight of everything, knowing he could no longer run from what he had caused. And in that moment, something shifted inside him as guilt began turning into a silent promise to fix what he had broken. The masked man slowly stepped back, his warning delivered, his purpose complete for now, leaving behind a silence heavier than fear itself. The restaurant slowly returned to life, but nothing felt normal anymore, as if everyone had just witnessed something deeply personal and real. The billionaire stood still, his mind overwhelmed, not by the stranger, but by the truth he could no longer ignore about his own past. He turned toward his mother, his eyes filled with regret, realizing she had suffered in silence while he built a world without her. The waitress gently guided the mother to sit, her presence calm, her actions showing care that the billionaire had failed to give for years. For the first time, the billionaire lowered himself beside his mother, not as a powerful man, but as a son asking for forgiveness. His hands hesitated, then slowly lifted, trying to repeat the signs he had just seen, struggling but determined to speak her language. The mother watched him closely, her eyes softening, tears forming as she realized he was finally trying to reach her world. The waitress smiled faintly, stepping back now, knowing her role was never to stay, but to reconnect what was once broken. The billionaire made a silent promise, not just to protect, but to change, to become someone his mother could finally understand. In that quiet moment, guilt turned into redemption, and a broken bond slowly began to heal in the most unexpected way. The story ends here, but the mystery lives on. Like, subscribe, and return for the next unforgettable journey.